All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Game number 2 should be starting shortly. MUFC facing IG. If IG win this game, they will have gone 6-0 in the groups and be the only team who's undefeated walking into the playoffs. They will also secure a guaranteed top 4 finish and be one best out of, I think it's 5, but one semifinal match away from being in the grand finals. Remember, first place in this tournament, approximately $30,000. Second place, approximately $8,000. So making sure you get into the finals and then making sure you win the finals, very important when it comes to the money. It is a very top-heavy prize pool, but IG looking good so far. I'm LD. I'm joined here by Draskell. And Draskell, it really has been the support play. We saw the roaming this game, but in their series yesterday, it was all about the aggressive tri-lane for them, where even in the lane, the supports were having a huge impact. They actually give YYF the MVP, but I'm with you, man. I think it really should be Faith/Chuan in that game 1. They set everything up for the team.
Don't get me wrong, YYF played a spectacular game. He contributed when he needed to. He got all the free farm in the world, and he basically solidified the win for his team, along with Fryer recovering and Zoe just being a monster in lane. But the supports are what ultimately makes that happen. You can't really free farm a lane if you don't have support, or you don't have somebody applying pressure somewhere else on the map. So in that regard, I'm kind of inclined to agree. YYF played great, but I think that the duo of Faith and Chuan kind of won in the game in game 1.
Let's be honest also. Those supports, they don't always get the love they deserve from casters.
True.
We do our best, but hey, it's hard not to get excited when Ferrari's picking up triple kills. We are only human after all. There's a reason why Tom Brady and all the quarterbacks in the NFL tend to get more of the hype. But we try to keep it balanced here on Beyond the Summit. And well, walking into this next game for MUFC, what do they look to do to try and bounce back? What is going to be the game plan?
I feel as though Chen didn't really fit their playstyle. It almost felt to me like they wanted to just sit back and farm. And against IG, who plays a very aggressive-oriented style, you can't really get away with that, especially when you have a really strong triple nuke double roam, like we have been talking about time and time again. But let's stray away from that for the moment. It's more so the fact that I didn't feel the Chen at all in that game. And that could have been because of the fact because the Lone Druid kept dying. But it doesn't feel like they're used to playing that hero. They didn't try to pressure the bottom tier 1. It ended the game, I think, at like 29 health total lost. And at that point, you kind of have to question, well, picking a Chen is really only good if you're wanting to play at least a little bit aggressive, if you know that you can shut down Ferrari in the last game or push bottom.
It's interesting you say that, because I agree with you. The way they played it that game, it looked like they're not comfortable with Chen. But this is one of their classic junglers. It's something that lane is really going to a lot, and it was MUFC's bread and butter for a long time. Before they made roster changes, even going into the International 2 and then shortly thereafter. But as of late, it looks like they haven't been playing the junglers much. I haven't seen them running it much in other events, and they didn't feel comfortable. And that wasn't the Chen, that wasn't the jungle style that you normally see from MUFC. What you normally see from MUFC is the aggressive jungling. You know, even if it's not offensive jungle, a lot of smoke ganking, a lot of roaming with another support, going for early kills, sitting back and farming. It's not something that MUFC normally do with their Chen, and it's also something, like you said, that isn't really a good matchup against IG, especially with the kind, with maybe not ideal awareness and reactions. Sure, the one gank went IG's way, but even after that, we didn't see D-Wardy on the lane, we didn't see lane wards there. We saw multiple ganks allowed on that lone druid, and no real counter for it. So for MUFC, the other thing I would like to see is no more Weaver. The Weaver just doesn't work against the Chinese teams. It can work against, some of the weaker teams of the group, maybe teams that like Vici Gaming, who is not really that experienced as a team yet, but there's too many heroes that do a lot of burst damage. IG picks stun heavy lineups, and Weaver's very vulnerable against that.
Well, I feel as though if MUFC wanted to buy time, that wouldn't have worked either, because I mean, a Weaver is going to need pretty much a full inventory to even hope to stand against a lifestealer. While you are really mobile, you just lack the damage output, especially when they basically threw him to the wolves. They put him in the off lane. They're like, okay, just get whatever you can, and that's fine. But their lone druid didn't get anything accomplished either. So after the first 20 minutes of the game, I mean, yeah, the game ended 5 minutes after that, but you really had this looming sense of, what did their lanes give them? And I really was drawing a complete blank. So it wasn't just the fact that their lone druid didn't have farm, or maybe they picked a team that needed too much farm, or they didn't use the Chen. It's like nothing went well for them at all. And really, yeah. IG only did one thing. They just roamed successfully, and it just tore the team apart.
It was very efficient roaming. I think we were talking about it in between the games, and I can't recall a gank that didn't work, and I don't think you can either. That's not a good sign for MUFC. So what do they look to do in this game? I would like to see them get that Tinker if it's not banned in the first round, which I think with IG having the second pick this time, it may be slipping. I think IG have the second pick this time. It should. There's a chance it'll slip through the Tinker, the Shadow Fiend, something that they've been playing more as of late. I would like to see one of those heroes that can blunt the aggression, have more of an impact in the mid game, and something they're just more comfortable with. But we'll see. Those heroes are also vulnerable to aggressive roaming. They have been signature heroes for MUFC as of late, but what do they go for in this game? We should be finding out fairly soon. Oh, by the way, let me know if the game fails to load again, because I'm trying to show the Chinese stream while we wait, since it's a little more interesting than the loading screen.
Yeah, we're just waiting on Zoe right now. It looks like he is going to connect, so I hope the game starts here. I'll let you know when the draft actually picks up. But as far as MEFC goes, I wouldn't be too disheartened by the last game, because it's not like the strategy they had going into it was bad, and the game will load this time, by the way, just so you know. So we're in bans and picks now, but just try to pick something that you're used to running, because it really did feel like they were not used to the style that they were trying to accomplish at all. And while MEFC in the past has been known to split push and kind of be cheeky that way, the strategy that IG ran shut it down before it was even really able to start. You want to be able to apply enough pressure to force somebody back, but they were never able to do that. The only person who was able to go anywhere was the Lone Druid, and he could just get picked off by himself because they just had TPs, blink daggers, and pretty much everything by the point that he had enough items to apply pressure. So with that being said, MESC is actually not going to let Ferrari get his TA second game.
And I forgot. It was the TA first pick from IG last game. Nick slips through. Oh, yeah, they're going to take it right away. I don't know. If I'm IG, I'd much rather let the Undying through than the Nyx. The Nyx... MEFC was the first team that was really seen using this hero competitively in Asia, and he sort of, it seemed like after they started using him in the GST Challenge, as we saw their matchups stack up, other teams started to use him a lot. So maybe that was a coincidence. Maybe other teams had been running him, but this is a hero they love to run, and for IG, I really think you're better off letting the Undying through. Sure, he's very annoyed, he's very strong, but this Nyx Assassin is a signature hero for MEFC, and also pretty much a top pick ban right now in any scene.
And no matter where you run him, most of the time you don't see Nyx getting that much farm, but he is played as a support. And the thing about him is, once he hits level 6, around the time where most other supports would be, he kind of applies a lot more pressure. His burst damage with no items is superb. You have a great, I guess it's kind of an area of effect stun. It's a line stun, of course, but it can still be used to pretty good ability, especially if you're MSC, like you said. It's one of their signatures. And you have mana burn against specific combo heroes that if you mana burn them once, they're unable to really use all of their abilities in a team fight. And then you have Carapace, which makes you hard to target. He's like the best of everything you could ever want in the support. He's hard to kill, and he disrupts team fights pretty well all on his own.
For IG here, I think they're debating between the Kodal and the Panda. And yeah, they're going to go with the Panda. MEFC, they're probably going to take the Kodal here. You really don't want to give away Kodal, Lone Druid, and Brewmaster, because then the 5-man Dota and even the laning phase from IG is just going to be a complete nightmare.
I like the fact that they took Brewmaster here, too, just because obviously it counters the Lone Druid, but mid-game, already looking at a Brewmaster, I think they're just going to go all in on that kind of strategy we saw in game number 1. And I feel like we both were kind of on the same page that IG's mid game was going to be strong. And you're right, they are going to go ahead and take the keeper here. But when you take a Brewmaster this early, IG is going to be applying some pressure.
And this will be interesting to see how they run the Brewmaster. I love the fact that MUFC get the Kodal, though. This draft looks a lot better for them. And I wonder, interesting with the Darkseer pickup here. What are they going to do with him in the laning phase? He's pretty annoying. Not the best matchup versus the Lone Druid. He does decently, but if that Lone Druid gets any help early on, it gets a lot tougher later on. But I like the Kodal Nyx because you can go aggressive, but if you want to just play a defensive tri-lane, you have Darkseer, who could be in the jungle, doesn't even have to be in the lane, and can still be getting a lot of farm. MUFC getting a lot of signature heroes, and I think for IG, well, a bit of a rock in a hard place, just not able to get the Kodal and the Brewmaster, so they do give something big away to MUFC, but what do they go for with this final pick?
It's going to be a hard decision, like you said. I mean, really defensive heroes coming out from MUFC. They're just going to pick the Lifestealer again pretty early. It looks like they're not willing to let that go into the second ban phase and have MESC have a chance to take it out, but it's another really strong pick. If you look at MESC right now, they are pretty much comprised of 100% magic damage output and being able to just be annoying, mana leak, mana burn, stop people from getting into team fights and using their combos. But Lifestealer can pretty much get in 6-second rage and kill somebody before he's not magic immune anymore. So in that sense, Lifestealer is a great choice. Plus you have Blink Initiation sooner or later from the Brewmaster. I still feel like Invictus Gaming with MESC having as defensive picks as they do is not really scared.
They still have a great tower diving lineup. So they need a little bit more farm with the Brewmaster, Lifestealer, Lone Druid, and now we're going to see all supports banned up by MUFC. That's pretty damn obvious. But in spite of that, they have heroes that can dive the Nyx Assassin in the mid game, and they have a tanky hero in the Brewmaster who can get that gem up if they have a decent start, if he's not too far behind. And once the gem comes out, Nyx Assassin, well, he can be a lot less effective. So for MUFC, I'm just interested to see what other carries going to be. Since they don't have any, we're seeing a lot of those banned out. Phantom Lancer is a hero that's risen to prominence as of late in the Asian scene, and especially with Kodal to combo with him, allowing you to split push, give you that mana. They're not going to go for it. They go for the Sand King. This is more what MUFC have been known to do in the past, and I wonder for them what this final pick is going to be. They still don't really have any physical damage, and they're up against a Lifestealer and a Lone Druid.
It kind of worries me as well. But, I mean, looking at the picks, MEFC, they have a defensive team to the utmost. I mean, pushing into Keeper, pushing into Darkseer, even Sand King to an extent is relatively difficult. But at the same time, they have great initiation potential with their Nyx. They can surge in, use the Sand King. He doesn't need a blink as fast as I guess you would see normally in games, especially in game number 1 between these two teams when IG had it. Getting a blink is pretty important, but when you have that kind of initiation potential with a surge, it's not so bad. So I feel like MEFC could still be playing somewhat of an aggressive style here.
We've seen a lot of teams favor the offensive trailing Darkseer. I don't know if they would do it, but with Nyx, Keeper of the Light, and Darkseer, you can push that tower down quickly. You can creep skip. And if Joe is soloing on the safe lane as the Lone Druid, he's not going to have fun against that. They may be able to pick up some early kills. The warding game, of course, becomes very important if that's the case. And if MUFC do that, though, the question is, who's going to be that solo mid? It could be the Shadow Fiend. And, well, with this... Actually, I guess that leaves you with a really weak solo on the Sand King, so I don't know. What are they going to do with these lanes? Maybe we'll just see that defensive tri-lane, then the Shadow Fiend mid, and Darkseer just abandoning the top lane.
It really depends on who they assume IG is going to be sending to middle right now, because, I mean, looking at it, you're going to say probably Ferrari Brewmaster. That's going to be the first choice. And Shadow Fiend in a 1v1 versus that particular hero, Shadow Fiend actually does quite well, assuming he doesn't get ganked, because Brewmaster has no way of really applying pressure. So he might be able to CS okay after the first couple of minutes, but IG lines it out with a Lion of all picks. And, I mean, they picked really strong roaming heroes last time, and these heroes are no real exception either.
Oh man, somehow I just accidentally opened up Warcraft 3. Let's get rid of that. And let's close Warcraft 3. Come on. My PC is not cooperating right now. I may have to restart my Dota 2. Sorry about that, guys. I am really good at computers today.
I'm actually not even sure how you could do that. Did you like accidentally hit your Windows key or something?
It's on my taskbar. Yeah, I was alt tabbing to check XSplit real quickly.
Ah, okay. I see. But, I mean, looking at the lineup so far, MEFC picked a hero who can compensate for the fact that they didn't have that good a physical damage output to deal with a Lifestealer and the Lone Druid. They picked the Shadow Fiend, or Presence of the Dark Lord, excuse me. It's going to help with that a lot, plus the fact that Necromastery gives you free 72 damage. It's going to be a lot easier for them to go on heroes like YYF or take down the high-priority targets. My only problem right now is there are 3 heroes that are so hard to kill and all have to die of IG. How is MEFC going to deal with all 3 of them? That's my question.
It's tough. And IG, with that Lion pick, I don't think they're expecting MUFC's not going to go aggressive. And with that, having the Sand King in the lineup, I don't think MUFC is comfortable with a Sand King in an offensive tri-lane, especially not when they already have a Nyx Assassin. So they pick the Lion expecting they'll be able to do a lot of jungling. And if Lion gets some decent levels early on, that's going to be a lot of trouble in the mid game. Across the board for MUFC's lineup, all of these heroes are very vulnerable to that Hex. I'm a little bit concerned for them, but let's introduce the players quickly. Sorry about the disconnection, guys. My computer on the fritz, because I'm a noob. But Net playing the Sand King. We have X-Freedom looking to gank the bear along with him. As for the other players on this team, Ohio is the safe lane Shadow Fiend. And it's going to be the Nyx Assassin going mid, actually. That's going to be their mid this game. Lane looks like he'll be defensive jungling. And then over on the side of IG, Zhou on the off-lane Lone Druid. We have Ferrari on the solo mid Panda. A tough matchup for the Nyx, because you can just bottle Crow a lot. Faith on the Disruptor, and Chuan on the Lion. Last but not least, we have YYF on the safe lane. So IG going defensive and just anticipating that MUFC didn't have the airs to go aggressive. And this is important for them because Disruptor, Lion are not good in an aggressive, in a 3-on-3 kind of situation.
And their damage output's not really that great, to say the least. But we'll have to see what happens here. I mean, IG has a team who, if they get the levels up on their heroes, they get the Static Storm out on Faith, they get Finger up on Chuan, they'll be able to do pretty much whatever they want. during the mid game and focus whoever they want, because Glimpse is just such a powerful tool for catching people out. And when you look at the kind of lineup that IG has, if you get caught, you are like 100% dead. There is pretty much no way you'll be able to get away from Blink Initiation from the Brew, potentially from the Lion as well. And then you have to consider Lifestealer being infested, and one of them, I mean, it's just a really hard team to play defensive against, even though MUFC has things like Keeper, like Darkseer. So we'll have to see how the laning phase goes, because I think that's going to have a huge impact on this game.
And you notice just the change in pace from IG. They're not going for the aggressive roaming early on. They put Joe in the off lane. They have no smokes picked up, just very defensive play. These supports are level dependent, but they're being allowed to do a lot of pulling. In the middle lane, for Ferrari, this is a matchup that Panda actually does very well in. Sure, Monobird's normally annoying, but if he's bottle crowing, that clap is going to allow him to zone out the Nyx. He's going to have a better time pushing, and sure, the Monobird can normally be frustrating, but this particular matchup, he's going to be fine. And offlane Joe is not getting much accomplished on his lone Druid, but is trying to be a nuisance here, blocking the stacks, it looks like, from the Darkseer. So disrupting the Darkseer's jungle, even though he's not getting anything out of the lane.
Now, min-maxing as best you can is really all you can hope for. But when you have this kind of a situation, we'll look at game number 1 as an example. They had 2 lanes that should have technically lost. This game, they only have 1. So in that sense, IG is already doing pretty well for themselves. If Zoe doesn't get any farm, yeah, that's kind of a bad thing. But, I mean, even the Nyx is struggling against the Brewmaster in the middle lane. He did manage to get the 2-minute rune, which is good. But YYF's going to be free farming. There's going to be absolutely no pressure on him at all. The roaming squad of MUFC is pretty much incapable of ganking him, too. And that's also an issue. Like, where does the movement come from? The only person on the map who can really move from MUFC is going to be the Nyx.
Yeah, and if that Nyx is missing, it's pretty obvious, because he's not a support Nyx. He's in the mid lane, so something that's much easier to call for a team than than a support, where maybe he's just pulling, you don't know where he is. You're going to know if this Nyx is off the map, and IG, well, the defensive wards will be important, not right now, but in the next couple of minutes, and we'll most likely see those come out. You know, protecting the bottom lane, maybe even protecting that off-lane lone Druid, but with the lane being pushed right now, Joe's going to have a pretty good time getting some experience finally. Looks like he actually did a bit of a pull here, I think.
I actually wasn't watching the top lane. Yeah, I'm not sure if he pulled or not. I've been more interested in what's going to be happening mid. I mean, the 4 and the 6-minute rune are going to be relatively important. Once Ferrari hits 6, I'm pretty sure he's going to want to start carrying a TP, because the only way I think that MUFC has to really get a big lead is on the back of that Nyx, and it looks like they're actually going to manage to kill the bear top, which is a pretty big deal, giving away 100 gold at this point, and yeah, that was the second bear too, so no more shenanigans for Zoe right now. Yeah,
for 50 seconds, he's not going to have much. There's a lane ward up as well. He doesn't have boots. This is a hero that they would really love to kill, just because they can look to push the lane down, they'll get a little bit of extra gold off of that, and you know, at the same time, even if you're killing him, Lifestealer's free farming. But it's not even the Lifestealer that concerns me. It's the fact that Chuan and Faith are getting a lot of levels and a lot of farm for supports, and these are supports that have a huge mid-game impact. Hex and Static Storm can just completely ruin team fights, and well, they're having that powerful start. I'm almost happy to trade this way from IG, even if the Lone Druid gets nothing.
I'm kind of feeling the same, especially because YYF, the hero that he is going to have a lot more impact than he would even in a game like last game, because like I said, the physical damage output from MUFC just isn't there. They're so heavily relying on this Nyx to basically do work for them in the mid game, and I'm not sure if he's ever going to have the opportunity that he needs to be able to do it. IG's already pushing into the tier 1 bottom. They know obviously that a solo Darkseer is not going to be able to stop this, and even he feels a little bit scared to walk into that, because if you time your glimpse properly when the surge comes out, there's no way you can get out. So
yeah.
Free tower for IG, and I feel as though this might be one of those situations where MUFC had a pretty good plan again, but oh no.
They start with the impale. Now like you said, you don't even need the glimpse if you get this. You get the kinetic field timing right. First blood by IG and the tower. Chuan got first blood and the tower, and look at how filthy rich he is after the observers, up to 1,000 gold. Big kill for them.
Well, that's going to be the fastest arcanes of his life, pretty much. 5 minutes on a support Lion, not too shabby.
Hey guys, look what I got. As far as net worth goes, well, he's up there. He's actually I thought he'd be even farther up, but hasn't got that much CS. And what can this Nyx do? That's going to be the big question this game, because, like you said, the supports, Keeper of the Light, he can farm very quickly, he can counter-push lanes, but in underleveled, he's not going to be able to gank, and an underleveled Sandcane, the same thing. He's not going to be able to set up kills. It all really lays in the Nyx's hands for Sharky to have a big impact for this team. Can he do it? It's going to be tough, because, like we talked about, it's going to be very obvious if he's going for those kills.
I'm kind of worrying right now for the roaming success right now. Did the courier really spot net right there? Wow, that is so bad. The courier just flew right over him by the secret shop and spotted him out. That sucks so bad if you're Sand King.
And Joe, just that pristine positioning way back at his tier 2. No openings. Double damage up on the Nyx. This is where you need that TP scroll, that smoke at the seat. You gotta start creating some pressure, because Lifestealer's free farming, and trading that for the Shadow Fiend could be okay if there wasn't such a strong team fight coming from the supports and the Panda in the mid game. In this case, it's just, I don't think it's going to be enough. They got to make an adjustment.
It's a little bit worrisome, but we've also forgotten about the fact that they have a Shadow Fiend. And Shadow Fiend is one of those heroes who can have a tremendous impact in the mid game, but they're going to try to go on Ling here at bottom.
Yeah, he gets impaled now. Oh, hexed up afterwards. Does time the surge properly. And will be able to escape. Middle lane, they go on to Sharky as well, but Sharky pretty tanky right now. Panda ult thrown out, and the Earth Panda, of course, being Magic Beam, doesn't care about that. Is going to be able to just keep on chasing, cycling him up in there, not dispelling it. He will go Invis and actually kill one. Oh, goes Invis and turns that around. They baited on a Panda ult. They trade 1 for 1. They did lose their Nyx, but can they turn this around onto Ferrari? I think they might be able to. Actually, no, probably not. They need the Darkseer as well. But he got pathed poorly there. He was forced to run all the way around. Now Ferrari going to look to TP away, and there's no way to cancel this. The Glimpse already used. Or not the Glimpse, the Vacuum already used and able to escape.
Really nice awareness right there. He checked the mana of net to make sure that he didn't have mana for a second Burrow Strike and just TP'd out as soon as he saw the vacuum. Very nicely done by Ferrari. They did lose the support for that, though. So it's not like Nyx got out of there with basically nothing. He did end up getting the solo experience for that, and now he's actually almost level 8, which is going to be really good for him. He's actually ahead in experience now, Ferrari. Not by much, albeit, but it's definitely something. And like I was saying, the Shadow Fiend farming, he's going to have a BKB probably at about 12 minutes, maybe even sooner than that. He's already got his Ogre Club and 1,300 extra gold. Having a super fast BKB and triple level 4 raise at the time that he's going to have it could make a pretty big impact.
He'll have that BKB, and he's kind of forced into this. Ohio much prefers the Shadow Blade Rush. He almost always goes for it. But this game, when you're dealing with Hex and Static Storm and Glimpse, as well as the Panda, I mean, so many heroes that are just going to murder you, even Entangle, which will go through the BKB. But if you get Entangled and then you get nuked down real quickly, that's going to be trouble. So forced to go for the BKB, but it is going to limit, well, really his presence, setting up kills and creating pressure on the map. And that's such a strong combo. If you have a Shadow Blade, Shadow Fiend, and a Nyx Assassin who's level 6 or more, you can just start assassinating supports. But because he's going for this BKB, it'll be helpful in the team fights, but it's going to limit the amount of pressure that IG feels coming from the ganks.
IG doesn't really feel too much pressure at all at the moment.
Right.
They've been pretty much the ones to always act first. It seems to be something that they always do. If we're the first one to make the move, no matter what, we usually come out ahead. That's pretty much what the game plan always is for them. But if they overextend like they did last time, you can't always expect to be able to TP out like that. And for most part, Ferrari should have probably died when they dove there, so using the vacuum a little bit prematurely. But at the end of the day, IG is still... They're not even having to create space right now because MUFC just isn't really applying pressure anywhere but top. And there is a sentry spotting out this poor Nyx, so this gank is like not worth. Yeah, he even says hi with the bear.
Yeah, he says, get out of my lane. I want to go back to farming, and I'm tired of you being here. And Sharky's going to oblige. It's the discipline from the supports. This is crucial when you're up against the Nyx, and IG showing it. They get the sentry wards down. They also had, it looks like they did some dewarding towards the top rune. No sentry wards placed mid. But Ferrari's not leaving the tower anyway, and since they saw that Nyx use Vendetta, they know another gank isn't coming for at least another 30 seconds or so.
That hurts so much. And just having that intuition to know that he would be the target, to put a ward there just so you feel a little bit safer. And the spot that they put it from IG, it covers so much space, so you're pretty much guaranteed to see him before he gets anywhere near the lone druid. And now he can just sit behind basically his tower and just use his bear to farm in a lane and keep it static. So now it's gotten to a point where, yeah, they push the tier 1, and this is a common problem we saw a couple of months back in the beta that a lot of teams really couldn't figure out is, okay, we push the tier 1, but we can't really push the tier 2 because by that time people start carrying TPs, you're going to have supports, possibly even the mid of IG coming.
Bottom lane, Ohio's getting caught! Wow, picked off very easily. And even with the BKB out once he gets it, that could still be an issue for him. If he gets insta-hexed, can he actually survive? Chuan's in trouble, though. Not going to be able to get away from this one. So they get the counter kill, but definitely a trade that they'll be happy to make. Net able to, looks like, just hide in the Sandstorm mid. Wow. Yeah, I mean, like you said, IG just... Teams often, Panda ult actually going out mid, and now do they actually go in here? I don't think they can get in range for this. This is a long way to chase. Ferrari really wants to make something happen. Faith lurking on the low ground, but realistically, What can he accomplish? It seems not a whole lot. Pushing that early tier 1 if you don't get the tier 2 is going to hurt you. And now on to Ferrari mid lane. The Panda ult will end. Net coming in, clapped down to death. A little bit over-eager. That Surge into Burrow Strike is a great initiation, but you got to have the proper follow-up. And with the Nyx Assassin being bottom, it just wasn't there.
That was a really sloppy exchange from both sides, though, to be honest. I mean, being forced to use your split like that, I can see where MESC wanted him to use it just because they didn't want him to have it in a team fight, which is a great idea. But then they overcommit to the same team fight that the only reason they took in the first place was to make him waste his ultimate and end up losing the Sand King for it. So at the end of the day, looks like IG ends up pulling out ahead in a very awkward situation, to say the least. But Zoe also continues his free farm.
He free farms, and killing that Shadow Fiend delays the BKB, and look how far ahead the Lifestealer is this game, and he's going for that phase drums, the FNC build, for those who believe it stems from him anyway. But the armlet's coming soon, and once this is up, he can just man mode MUFC, and who's there to stop him? There's no Demonic Purge. All you can do is surge your allies away, but you can't surge them away if they're being stunned with that Impale, if they're being locked down by the kinetic field. It's going to be trouble for them, I feel, in the mid game. This Lifestealer, there's no clear solution to him. It's not only the lack of physical damage, like you said. It's also, you know, where's the actual disables to deal with him? They don't really have them.
That's kind of what I was feeling as well. I mean, yeah, Vendetta does do a pretty good amount of damage to the Lifestealer. If they catch him before Rage, they could kill him. But the supports of IG have been carrying detection and even using it to defend their lone druid to this point. Big dive on top. Oh, wow. Is he really going to get away?
Glimpse. Oh, in a lot of trouble is Ohio. He's going to get picked off. And now the counter gank coming out. But they're trading once again to support for your carry Shadow Fiend, and he's a one-position Shadow Fiend. They need him to be living. Net's gonna drop. YYF just getting so aggressive with this Lifestealer. Freedom taking a lot of damage, dropping low. He'll fall. Now onto Ling. Ling surging forward. Wants Chuan, but is it really worth it if he trades? I don't think so. Can he get away now? That's the big question. In comes Sharky as well. Has that Impale. Throws it out. Can they actually focus down YYF? He's very, very low. He wands up. He's running. He's so damn fast, that race car Lifestealer. They just can't seem to bring him down. And now Infesting, looking to rejoin the fight. Going back on the late, is out of mana. There's your entangled Sharky. Sharky, oh, a lot of damage onto him, trying to run away. Here comes a Nyx on a bear, and another entangle, and Doom soon to follow. Tried to vacuum them both up on the hill to keep him safe. Not able to do so. Now Ling playing with his own life. How are they always having that extra hero they need in the fights? IG just showing their superior team play there, getting a bunch of kills, and Shadow Fiend, for me, the big thing, the BKB still being delayed. He needed to be fatter than any other carry on the map because he's up against multiple, and right now, he's way behind the Lone Druid, and, well, not way behind the Lone Druid, but way behind the Lifestealer, and even behind the Lone Druid.
Now that's a second death too, which really hurts, and X-Freedom needs to be careful up here. If he gets caught out by an open wounds, he'll die for sure. But like you were saying, being behind carries is something that Shadow Fiend is not accustomed to. His strength really lies in the fact that he can get that incredibly bloated creep score so fast, especially when you're in the safe line of Dire, because you can have supports from MUFC stacking for you, and it really feels like they haven't really protected him that much. They're kind of doing what IG did in game number 1, but the roaming supports is actually hurting them more than anything because they've left Ohio up all by himself, and he's died 2 times. So instead of having like a 12 to 13 minute BKB, now we're looking at much more like a 16 or 17 minute BKB.
And there's no pressure. It doesn't feel like there's any pressure. You pick Nyx Assassin, you send a mid to create pressure on the enemy supports. You buy those sentry wards, you have to sit at your towers, you're worried about him ganking you. And what really is a nice sort of complement to that is having the quick Shadow Blade on the Shadow Fiend, which is normally what MUFC goes for. But this game, he felt he had to get the BKB. There's so many ways to just man up on him and lock him down. But the problem with that is now he's not able to get that aggressive item that creates pressure. And heck, whatever item he wanted, it's still not coming out. The deaths pile up. And now that mid-game push for IG, how do you stop this if you're MUFC? It's pretty much just sit back and try to spam the waves down with Illuminate. But Ferrari's looking to break through that siege. He blinks in. He's got the ult. Kinetic Field is not going to actually pull in Sharky. Sharky able to run away. There's your Panda ult as well. YYF gets one. He's on a mega kill. Now running back in the other way. They catch out Sharky. Sharky being focused. It's always just IG surrounding these heroes and looking to bring them down. Joe on the way out. Panda ult being used very effectively. Boulder tosses and Cyclones going out all over the place. And then the raises come in. Ohio, the triple raise, just not enough damage. He pops like a pinata. And YYF wants another. Freedom channeling Illuminate. That is not going to help him get away. And the Infest punctuation mark on that kill. And the chase not even over on the back lines of play. They did get the counter kill on Joe, but Lifestealer still not dying. This is looking like trouble.
That was technically 5 heroes down because the Sand King bought back and died again, so 2 deaths for not any semblance of a Blink Dagger that he was going to have in the next, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes is now very, very far away. And even though they did lose a couple for that, losing the Lone Druid, not really that big of a deal if you're IG, because the Lifestealer lived through the entire fight. He's got 1,600 gold now, the Armlet is already finished, and that's just a glimpse of what we're likely to keep on seeing, and it's just the fact that they have nothing to deal with these heroes. All 3 of them are so tanky. I mean, the Darkseer chased the Lone Druid all the way across the map, basically, to kill him. And then you have Ferrari, who can split, so he's basically not a viable target. And then you have YYF, who has to die.
Oh, they wanted lane mid lane, but the glimpse just slightly, or the kinetic field slightly misplaced there.
Yeah, he had his surge up, so it's really hard to lock him in there. But this is the concern that I had at the very beginning. Like, how are they going to kill every... Oh, wow, that Sentry.
It's the discipline from these supports that's really doing it, and now Faith just gonna walk away calmly, and Static Storm even thrown out just to ensure the safe escape there. And now Chuan up to 200 gold. He's got his core items. At this point, if he gets a Blink Dagger, he could just jump in after the Panda and just instantly lock down a hero and pick him off. And I don't even know if that BKB is gonna help the Shadow Fiend. We'll see. There's your Hex. On to the Nyx Assassin. The Initiator has become the Initiatee. He's getting focused out. Monster kill for YYF. Godlike indeed. And he's making it look easy. And
I mean,
it's just so painful to watch. There's just no way out for MUFC right now. You can't run.
It hurts so much too because the Lifestealer has been pretty much at the same threshold of HP for the last, I don't know, 5 minutes of straight fighting, but they just have nothing to really seal the deal. And because of the fact that, like you were saying, the supports just having sentries, I mean, I'm just gonna say it, man. Today's best of 3 is the supports. As much as you could put credit to farmers for farming, I mean, honestly, if there were no sentries, for instance, in the top lane, if they didn't have a mid right there, they would have lost YYF for sure. They might have even lost Zoe a little bit earlier on. It's just a matter of prioritizing what's the most important to you at that particular point in time, which is going to be obviously getting your 2 carries farm. And they've just done it so well in both games.
And yeah, apparently my overlays, that's not even the right one. That's also not the right one. There, nope, that's also the right one. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Man, I'm a mess today. Save me, Draskell.
I'm trying my best. Unfortunately, I had to turn my other monitor off because it gets distracting to watch team fights 2 times.
Yeah.
Like, I would watch the team fight, then watch it again because we're on a little bit of a delay, and then I would be like, oh, wow, so that's what happened, because sometimes you miss it, but oh, no, this Lifestealer mid.
And it really shows you the Nyx Assassin, it's just, or rather the Nyx really counters his NYX counter, his NX.
Considering the point in the game that it was, and I was really not expecting that. Very, very nice play, though, coming out of the Nyx. And I think you might actually be back in the game, but I think you're going to have to restart your XSplit as well, correct?
Yeah, XSplit, it just came back up right as I connected into the game. Sorry about that, guys. My computer decided it would be a great time to restart. Not sure why, but we're back in the game, and MUFC just won a team fight from the sounds of things.
Yeah, they managed to catch out 3. They caught Ferrari, Chuan, and Faith, so the dual combination roam and the mid. They managed to take him out actually right outside of the tier 2. Interestingly enough, YYF didn't even try to TP. Actually, I don't think he had one, as he still doesn't have one and managed to pick up an S and Y. But it was a really nice turnaround. The Shadow Fiend is now technically the highest creep killer on the map, but I don't think he's the highest net worth. Yeah, he's still way, way below what YYF is.
When your Nyx is 908, he's probably going to be the highest net worth.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing pretty good. He's got 12,000 net worth at 22 minutes in. I mean, he really likes his SNY too.
He really does. It's not a bad item on Lifesteal. I mean, you can even disassemble it later if you want. Get that Manta style and the Heaven's Halberd. We probably won't see that, but you know, I think the reason we really see it from my wife is he just likes to constantly be involved in the fights. And if you want to do that, this item is such a good build-up to allow you to just keep the aggression flowing.
Yeah, it's great mobility. It is actually pretty efficient in terms of stats and how much it actually costs. It's only 4,100 for the entire thing, and it's quite a bit of strength, mobility, attack speed, and of course the chance to make somebody just have no chance of getting away from you. So at the very least, it's a pretty useful item during the mid-game. It's just not something that we see so often because games either end really fast or go really long, and SNY in the late game is not really that effective of an inventory slot.
They've also gone for some very mid-game oriented items on the Lone Druid. The early Vlad's coming out. It's an item we'll see later on from him, but he actually has a gem up on the Bear. Interesting. He's going to use that Bear's high mobility just to try and scout out any sort of wards. And he's going to start finding them. And this is how you deal with the Nyx Assassin in the mid-game. At some point, the Sentry is just not going to be enough Although they didn't see that ward. Does the gem not work on the bear or something, or did they just want to leave it up? I'm very confused.
I don't know if they actually saw it. Did anyone go to the high ground?
They just ran right by it. I'm not sure if they're... Because they already showed the gem. This isn't a bug, right? He's got a gem on his spirit bear.
Yeah, he's got a gem. I'm pretty sure it still sees, or at the very least it should. Maybe they didn't go
so,
hard
too.
high enough up the stairs.
Yeah, maybe they weren't. They might have just been all watching the minimap. I guess that's the other possibility, is weren't paying attention to that area. Very odd. One of those things. So, for MUFC, looking a little bit better. I guess they've stabilized. And now Ohio is going to be, it looks rushing, I assume a butterfly. There's a lot of physical damage coming. This will help him deal with it, but remember, there's always that Lion Hex to remove it, too.
Things are going to be looking pretty much like if he doesn't get his BKB off, the fight's going to end just right then and there.
Even if he does, he's just going to have to run away here. BKB in exchange for a Rage. And now the Nyx Assassin getting focused, caught in the kinetic field, taking some good damage here, trying to run, but the bear definitely is seeing him now, and he'll drop to that. Shadow Fiend with the BKB down. I don't think he can fight anymore. Lane's getting caught off in the back lines. No wall, no Ghost Scepter, no wand charges. He's just going to melt. And last but not least, it is the Shadow Fiend who gets caught. A properly executed team fight, and IG get 3 fairly convincing kills.
Shadow Fiend definitely overstayed his welcome. As soon as he popped the BKB, and was basically forced to by YYF, and that's the strength of his mobility build, is the fact that basically with phase popped, you almost run at haste speed, and that's really scary to deal with if you're 1,000 hit point or life stealer, or wow, Shadow Fiend. I'm gonna get the name right one of these times. It's gonna take me a few.
I'm infecting you with my incompetence today. It's spreading. It's like a disease.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get that checked out after this game, I think.
I know a guy. He's very good.
I'm like life, shadow, something. I couldn't get it out.
Hero, kill, item, stun, something along those lines. And Net finally gonna have the Blink Dagger. It's a nice item for MUFC, and now they at least have that reliable initiator, because Nyx at this point is actually very unreliable. He's got to basically run in, and even if you're in Impale range, you're in Gem range, and if they have just vision of you, like if you're not up a hill or something, it's not really gonna amount to too much. He's frantically trying to run top to get that Blink and TP over, but it's gonna be too late. Rosha's gonna fall here, and surprisingly, well, they're just gonna walk up the hill. They didn't seem to see him there. They just don't care about him. Lane's getting glimpsed back into the middle of the team. I'm not now going to drop. Nyx skirting around on the sidelines. Is this a bug? Because they really don't seem to see the Nyx.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, I guess IG doesn't know that since they're leaving it on the bear.
I guess it doesn't really matter either in the fact that they just killed 3 of MUFC relatively easily, so Darkseer, Keeper, and Sand King all dead. I don't even know if they're going to waste their time pushing into the tier 2 top. They might just go ahead and try to take the racks.
Well, as soon as you say that, they decide they're going to back off, so I guess they heard you and said, no, we're going to do something.
We're going to extend the game, it's fine.
They probably could have gone high ground there, although actually the creep wave isn't there, so maybe not. They have a decent backdoor lineup, and Lone Druid up to 3k gold, Lifestealer, Reaver completed. And YYF's going to get to a point in this game where he's just never going to die. It already feels like he's at that point, but once, presumably, the heart comes out, it's just going to be impossible.
Well, that's really the only reason to build him this tanky, is because he knew that the damage output of MUFC wasn't going to be so great versus his hero anyway. Why not play to your strengths? Looks like MUFC is going to go with a last-minute kind of a smoke gank. There's actually no sentries for once coming out of IG to see this one coming, because they basically did it from their base. And they might be able to catch out Chuan, but in the end, is catching a support for a 4-man smoke really going to... And he actually he probably knows it's coming too. He's like, oh man, this is so not good.
This is like watching Jaws. And he's going to find that boat and devour the tourists. Painful. And after losing Chuan, IG says, a good time for us to push mid. We don't need him anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, they got one hero who's basically like trying to kill 5 heroes, and that's why he's got 3,500 health, and of course having an armor and a heart, it means you never have to turn off your armor.
It reminds me of Left 4 Dead. This is like the tank. You know, you mentioned the tank. This is the tank. Like he's better than like 5,000 regular zombies. That's how strong this one zombie is, and he's got the heart now, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean they can mana burn him, but oh jeez.
The one thing is he can't just insta-get heroes in his rage. He is, like, primarily tank. He does a lot of damage, but not the overwhelming amount. And now the gem's on the floor because the bear died. YYF makes a run for it, a beeline, and he will pick it up. So now they'll actually have that true sight.
Well, I mean, the last time they had an engagement, it didn't really seem to matter too much, but of course, being able to see Sand King, the Knicks coming, it's always going to be to your benefit. And Chuan is kind of just hanging around here trying to spot out the
looks
Sand
like
King, maybe vice versa.
It looks like Sand King actually, this very smart play, backstabbed the creep wave, so they couldn't push into the high ground, but at the same time, it does seem like he's only stalling. And wow, Ohio really rushed that butterfly. Doesn't even have upgraded boots, just a butterfly and a BKB. It shows you, it's like it's a desperate kind of item to rush like this.
Well, it is really good against the Lifestealer. He has no form of true hit or true strike, so it doesn't really. It's not a bad item. It's
right.
Just you don't really see a naked butterfly rush because it's not really the most cost-efficient item, and it's so hard to get. But we'll see if it ends up doing anything for him.
We'll see if it does. YYF charges in. Once Ohio, who is surged away to safety. The Panda ult was used. They glimpse someone back, but it looks like it wasn't really that far. Nixus hasn't getting thrown up in the air. There's your epicenter by Net. Really nice epicenter. Catches quite a few. Now the wall drop, but Faith's still running. Wants up, will survive. Here comes Ohio. Here comes potentially the pain. Now auto-attacking on Chuan, but YYF is at full HP. He was diving the fountain and still can't be brought down. Triple for YYF, now focusing on Ling. No bash, and even with the open wounds, I don't know they'll be able to chase him down. Maybe they will. YYF has a permanent haster, and forget about Surge Man. Or maybe not quite. He's going in onto Ling, vacuum back, now the Rage. They're not going for the racks. Only Zhou is the captain here, focusing those racks down. Doesn't even have his Spirit Bear. And YYF says, okay, I guess I'm done chasing for now.
Yeah, this is the point in the game where you just start pinging and go, wait, why are you guys still chasing him? It's been like 30 seconds. We could have taken like their whole base by now, but it seems like the worst fears that I had for MUFC's composition came to fruition this game is that they didn't have damage to kill any of IG's heroes. I mean, it would have been a bit different if they managed to keep anyone down, but it seems like 2 games in a row, they just didn't really accomplish it.
And yeah, exactly like you said, they didn't have the damage, and also they went for the one hard carry, which just... You know, I've seen them do this, but it's always with an aggressive double roaming strategy to create a lot of pressure on the enemy farmers, you know, like that Nyx, or the Nakes. And this game, they didn't do that. They just let them free farm. So it just feels like they're not really sure what their game plan is. It's like a little bit of everything, but that's not the kind of team MUFC has shown themselves to be as of late. Chuan getting caught out of position, and might go down here. Yeah, he'll get... No, he's actually able to escape in the end. Nixus has it dropping low, trying to run away back to his own fountain. Ferrari jumps forward. Panda ult's still cooling down for a long time, but YYF is here. And even with the Ghost Scepter, I don't know if it's going to be enough. It will wear off, and now just melts to the auto attacks. In comes the late Impale. Now Ohio trying to bring down the Lifestealer, but he just really doesn't have the physical damage output. Even with that Butterfly Rush, it helps you to survive, but it's not really that much DPS this early on. You know, it normally scales up well when once you've got the Manta illusions, but when they get all that extra attack speed, this is not looking good for MUFC. I don't really see them coming back from this game at this point, to be totally honest, and that puts them 0-2. It puts them in a spot where there could be a 3-way tie for last place in this group if Vici Gaming are somehow able to 2-0 Tongfu. And if that happens, MUFC are going to be kicking themselves, because all they needed was one game in this series to guarantee a berth in the playoffs.
That would be really unfortunate if it ends up happening that way, especially for a team like MUFC. And they've been around for a really long time. Not really the most stable roster, at least one of the players for the most part. And oh man, this Nyx, he needs to get out of here.
He really does. In comes YYF. Still no actual stun, but just the auto attacks. I don't even know if you can get away in time, and not getting away in time that time. Up to another 4.2k. This is where, well, your Sanji Yasha, maybe you look to split it up, maybe you look to sell it, but item slots for YYF. That's something he'll have to not worry about, but look to deal with as Zhou. Zhou's the one who's going to be happy. He's got 4.6k, plenty of room for him to get that Divine Rapier. The last time Zhou was seen with this much gold, he bought a Divine Rapier, he put it on a Spirit Bear, he promptly fed it to the enemy team, and the game got really exciting for like 5-10 minutes.
Well, whenever you have a Rapier in a game, you kind of have to make the team who bought it give it away at least once, if not 2 or 3 times, just to spice it up a bit for the viewers. But I don't think we're going to be seeing a Rapier this game, unfortunately. And YYF, interestingly enough, is going for a Lincoln's, and I think he's actually going to have it right now. So no more Mana Leak, no more annoying Mana Burn, or Impale, I guess, or Burrow Strike. It's a lot of things that blocks, actually.
Actually a really good item this game.
Yeah.
And here they go into Ohio. Ohio gets caught. Will BKB trying to run away. And there's no entangle in him, so he'll be able to escape for the moment. I think, maybe not. YYF comes in, chopping away here, and even when he's getting stunned, there's just no damage. He's not even taking damage. Now the entangle, the auto attacks. Such a nice pair of these two. The lifestealer, and he's just going to dive the fountain. No, maybe not. Without that evasion, would be a little bit dangerous. Here's the wall in the back lines of play. Chuan's dropping low, but Lena's too. The first one to fall. Well, it's hard to tell really. Net's going to drop, and now on to Ohio. And this is bad. When you're losing a man fight like that, even with evasion, to a physical damage hero who doesn't have True Strike, that is a true sign of just how far behind you are in the game. And IG, this game too, pretty much in the books.
I don't really know what the Shadow Fiend could have built to make this game any different, because even if he went Manta, went for a little bit more damage-oriented items, he would have had to have been forced to Manta instantly every single fight anyway, and IG knew that. I mean, we can talk about how the fact that X-Freedom is going to get evaporated here, but it really doesn't matter. I think it's safe to say that IG have pretty much won this game, so it's going to be a 2-0, but I think more so than the first game, IG kind of outdrafted them here. I mean, what focus could they really have? Could they attack Zoe, one of the tankiest heroes in the game, just without items? They can't attack YYF, he has too much farm. Ferrari can't be focused unless he's stun locked to death. Then you're left with basically supports to go for. I mean, the way that IG picked is like there was no good target for MUFC. They went all in on one specific type of damage output, and they got hard countered by picks of IG.
What makes it even more impressive from IG is MUFC got their heroes this game. They had the Nyx Assassin, they got the Keeper of the Light. These are heroes that they've really been achieving a lot of success with as of late, and that in general have been very high impact heroes. But this game, IG showed that they have the answers for these kinds of heroes. If you're going to pick up a Keeper of the Light, he's not going to do anything to shut down the farm of heroes in the other lanes that he's not in. And they didn't have the aggressive trialing. Going for the Sand King and the Darks here just really limited the aggressive trialing potential, because they were going to have a relatively weak solo somewhere. Or they're going to put the Nyx Assassin as a solo, in which case they're just not going to have an aggressive trialing option. So IG, like you said, the draft just a little bit smarter. They knew the Nyx or the Lone Druid was going to get a lot of farm. The Sentries early on in the lanes. IG just solid play all around, and MUFC, they're going to drop a 2-0 set. Look at the final score for YYF. 21-0 and 13. It's really hard not to give him the MVP with that kind of a record.
I think he deserves it this game. He played spectacular, contributed to so many fights, and that's kind of the strength of a lifestealer. A lot of carries kind of suffer from this "it's really risky if I fight" syndrome in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game. Lifestealer doesn't really have that. He has a method to get in with open wounds. He has magic immunity built in, and with the way people build him when you lane, you guarantee that your rage is going to be maxed out before you start going for kills. So that being said, that hero in itself was enough to pretty much put MUFC on the back foot, and I mean, from there it was kind of like Zoe got his tower push in the top lane, and then he was able to free farm because there was no other pushing coming out of MUFC at all. You would have expected Ferrari to be TPing to the top tier 2. They just lost all their momentum. They killed one tower, and then they couldn't do anything after that. It felt like IG was almost impenetrable at that point.
Painful. They just looked very solid. MUFC, frankly, just looked outclassed today. And, you know, it's nothing against MUFC. It's no shame for them. Almost everyone looks outclassed against IG. That's just how well IG plays when they're on top of their game, and we see it again. They did have a bit of a misstep at G1 League, but aside from that, every big tournament they're performing exceptionally well. And at least to start things off for the G League, they're going to claim a 6-0 group stage performance, and along with that, first place and a guaranteed seed, top 2 seed into the semifinals, into the Final Four. So they win one game, they're in the grand finals. They're going to the Shanghai Mercedes-Benz Center. And I don't know if you've had a chance to see pictures of that venue, Dreskel, but it's ridiculous. It's basically it's like a new age stadium for Dota.
That sounds pretty. I'm gonna have to look at them now. Maybe you have the link somewhere that I can actually check them out.
Yeah, actually, for anyone who's curious, there are pictures below the stream. So twitch.tv/BeyondTheSummit. If you're watching on an embedded site, you can go there. I know Liquipedia, I think, has pictures, or at least the live report thread for the G League, and you can find them if you just Google it. I think it's the Shanghai Mercedes-Benz Center, something like that. It looks sick. So it's a very fun event. I think it just shows you how mainstream Dota is there. It's on national television. It has very high production value compared to most Western tournaments. And then on top of that, they're going to be playing in a stadium. It really is going to have that feel of a sport. So IG, they're not there yet, but with this win, they secure a 3-0 record in the group stage as far as matches go, 6-0 as far as games go. And with that, guaranteed top 4 finish for them. For MUFC, their fate not entirely in their hands now. If Vici Gaming somehow pull a 2-0 against Tongfu, it would be a 3-way tie. Unlikely based on what we've seen from Vici Gaming, but hey, anything's possible. So on that note, I'm LD, he's Draskell. This is Beyond the Summit's coverage of the G League. We do have another match today, but before we wrap up for this one, Draskell, any closing thoughts, any shout-outs, anything you want to plug there for the viewers?
Obviously, thank you guys for supporting my good friend LD and Gods by watching Beyond the Summit, of course, G League cast. Very, very cool to have you guys here. Thanks for having me on, LD. It was awesome. Even if I am extremely lazy and I didn't, make it known that I wanted to cast, I'll take the blame in front of thousands of people. It was my fault, but it was really cool to cast.
Yeah, and on that note, since you're being very modest, guys, if you enjoy Draskell's casting, go follow him, check him out. He streams a lot of his own pubs, twitch.tv/Draskell with 2 L's, and as for Twitter, it's twitter.com/Draskell with 1 L, DRASKYL. There you go. Even my spelling's bad today, man. What a rough day for me. Hopefully the next series will be a little smoother. I do apologize for all the production issues. You can blame me. Fire LD 2013. I guess it's back to me being the one on the way out, not Gods anymore. But guys, on that note, we'll try and have some post-game highlights for you, but that wraps it up for our coverage of this series. IG secure first place. MUFC, their fate now rests in the hands of Vici Gaming, as well as Tong Fu. That match coming up a little bit later today. 20 SGT, or 13 CET or 7 EST, so you can do all the time conversions. They've already been done for you, actually, thanks to me. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you a little bit later. Enjoy the highlights.